Hey Burns, how are you today?
Doing all right, Dick. How about yourself?
Well, it's been another round of medical appointments and people telling me I'm a 34-year-old when in fact I can't walk and whatever, but that's the way it is.
Now, have any of your girlfriends told you you look like you're 34?
Nobody whose opinion I really care about say that.
Yeah.
But you know, we've talked about this offline, and that's how it is to grow old, and then the mortality thing, and I'm sitting here. I have a gecko collection of carved geckos that I've collected from all around the world. Who gets that? I got a coin collection that when I bought the coins, they were in circulation. Now they're considered antiques. I've got a stamp collection, same story. I got a rock collection, which my one grandson has been taking section by section by section. And I think the only thing that age has done, at least in my case, is I've got how do I transfer all this stuff I've got, and stuff that's on the computer and everything, to somebody else? And do I even really care about doing that? But and I've got a lot of things I want to do. Like I'm trying to go on a rail trip in Canada, and I rescheduled that again. Luckily, after the latest CDC warning. But I'm minutes, days count, and the time is flying by, and I'm stuck. I got all these boxes of stuff around here that I'm trying to get rid of and fix up and whatever, and I don't know, it doesn't happen. But aside from that, on the normal mortality scale, uh, I'm not really worried. The only thing I'm really worried about is time to finish what I started. And since I'm a procrastinator, I'll never finish what I started.
Well, I guess in the context of my own mortality, and we're both the same age, you sound a lot more practical than I am. I when I get a little maudlin or preoccupied with my health issues and what's inevitable for all of us on this planet, uh, I think about the things I'll miss, not the things I need to pass on.
What will you miss?
My wife, Kathy, and I've known Kathy since she was a freshman in high school. I was a junior, and I mean this sincerely. The marriage vow, "Till death us do part." I didn't buy into it when I got married, and I'm resisting it as we speak. The notion of not being with her uh, is a terrible thought, and I just have to force myself from time to time to quit thinking that way and to get on with things. And I generally do. I have some times if a doctor appointment, the news went badly, there'll be a dip in my morale, but then I pull back on the rudder and get back, you know, kind of even keel. I mean, I don't mope about the inevitable, but I think about it more. You don't think about those things when you're young. It's so far off. You think you're invincible, and
Yeah,
then when you get a few health issues, Dick, my God, then and the body just doesn't respond. You know, issues of walking, issues of balance, all kinds of things. You know what I'm talking about. You're there, I'm there. Then you start thinking, God, seems like my mind's still sharp, but this damn body of mine won't do what I want it to do, and it's not going to get better.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I remember turning 65 and I thought that was old. But somehow over the last 10 years, I don't know where the time went, number one, but number two, everything's gone to hell in a handcart. And when the doctors say, well, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm going, then why am I running around in a wheelchair? I mean, should I get a scooter?
Well, I went to, and I don't, you had suggested this topic, and I think it's one appropriate to our age, and maybe, some of our viewers will be interested. So I'm not reluctant to talk about it. I just don't know if I'll talk about it well. But I had an appointment last week. Doesn't matter what it was about or who the doctor was, but um, when they finally called me in after quite a lengthy wait, and I've gotten to know the nurse pretty well, instead of using my cane, I held my cane at a horizontal to the ground, and I walked as fast as I could. And she said, "Wow, Mr. Higgins, you're doing well today." And I said, "Well, I just want to show you my balance is good and my legs feel pretty good." And she said, "Well, very good. Congratulations." Well, then I go in, and as part of this particular health issue I'm dealing with, they had to give me a shot of something that causes extreme fatigue. And now, less than a week later, I'm sitting here feeling like I've gone back 3, 4 years, and you can forget, my physical therapy and a lot of the things I've done that I've thought I was working my way out of a hole. So that gets you down a little bit, but I'll bounce back. I mean, one thing that's helped me, don't laugh too hard at this, Dick, is I played Pop Warner football and then high school football. Would have played college football, but I tore up my knee. But football really did teach me not to give up and to be resilient, and whether you and I are in the fourth quarter or the 2-minute drill, whatever God has in mind for us, you have to suck it up and keep forging ahead, right?
Well, yeah, because you can sit back and go, oh, woe is me, or whatever, or you can just kind of drive on. But, as I said, my issue is time. I've got a lot of things I still want to do. And it's getting harder and harder to do them, number one. And if I don't get to do them, like, putting off traveling to Canada on the train through the Rockies, uh, I'm going to lose another year.
My travel consists of Nat Geo and the Smithsonian Channel, and sometimes nature programs on PBS.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me it was going to the bathroom.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Particularly, Dick, when you'd just been 2 minutes before.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to hang a U-turn before you even sit down.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Going through this fun and games thing, what do you recommend to people? Because they're all going to get here sooner or later. Some won't even get here.
Well, I'd say the first thing is, whatever your religious faith might be, I think that's important. I mean, I'm a Christian, a Catholic, and I won't quote the Bible, the apostles exactly, but if you believe in him with a capital H, meaning the Son of God, you'll have eternal life. So if you're having a really bad day, and I think I don't look at these days, but I used to be what I'd call a man's man. But I get fearful from time to time. You have those moments of weakness. So, first of all, I think you have to cling to your faith. And the second thing, you have to I don't know if it's philosophical, metaphysical, what the right word is, but we all owe God a death. Nobody escapes his planet. And I can't recall who said it, and I'll paraphrase, but a coward dies 1,000 deaths, but a brave person dies just one. So, I think in that context, you have to, suck it up and prepare yourself for the inevitable, but don't be preoccupied with it all the time. I've had something in my life that I'm not going to go into here, but I'm sure this is true of a lot of people, that just a few months ago I thought would never happen. And it's been wonderful. And if I quit on some of the health issues I've been dealing with for quite a while now, that might have never happened to me. So as long as you're above ground and breathing, something wonderful could happen. Either something that you hope to have happen or something completely unexpected, but that's the beauty of life. So find a way, this would be my advice along with your faith, find a way to be optimistic about what the future may hold, even if the future isn't, 10 years, 15 years. Life can be so good, and it's precious, and it's fulfilling.
So in other words, I should continue eating prime ribeyes on Friday.
Absolutely. And you know why? At our age and given our issues, what's wrong with being a bon vivant? Have a little fun, particularly during COVID, when, with I'm speaking of you and me right now, if with our compromised immune systems, if everybody's advising you don't leave home, and if you have to, be extra careful. My God, that becomes oppressive. So why not have some fun at home? Why not have a second glass of wine? Why not have a prime steak? Kiss your wife. Those are the kind of, that's what life is all about. Call your son or daughter, your best friend, your sister, your brother, whatever the case may be. You and I talk. I don't think our viewers know this. I think they know we went to college together in the late 60s, mid to late 60s. But what I don't think they know is that even before we began doing podcasts, we made Friday afternoon a regular time to get on the phone with each other. And usually those phone conversations would last an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we'd cover all kinds of things. And I can't ever remember, Dick, getting off the phone with you where I didn't feel great the rest of the day.
Hey, that's good.
So there's an example. It's those kind of little things, the connection with people you care about, that can make life good so that you can deal with the things that are troubling you or are difficult to contend with.
Well, I guess that's the reason I send you recipes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're the ectomorph. I'm the endomorph. I should eat less, and you probably should eat a little more. You're lucky. You're one of those guys, you could probably eat 3 Snickers bars and not gain an ounce.
No, because if they do that, my blood sugar goes whack.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hear you. Now, what do you do besides fret over who you're going to give your stamp collection to?
Well, yesterday I was trying to figure when they swapped out our split air, which was really getting old, and now the new one is on. You can't even hear it, so half the time we leave it on and wake up freezing. I'm trying to figure where the old curtains went so I can rehang them, but it looks like it's not going to fit, so I got to go get curtains. I got aquatic soil so my wife could plant her water lilies. Of course, I have doctor's appointments all the time.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I don't know. Time just flies. I haven't even had time to take a nap in a month.
Yeah, I'm not a napper. But even Kathy said when I said I got to get on the podcast with Dick, she was in here at the other computer. She said, "Is it that time already?" I mean, we can't believe how fast 4 and 5 o'clock comes around. It's like a snap of the fingers.
Yeah.
You know, in my working life, good God, I've never been a clock watcher. I mean, I've always been invested in my work, and I was never an 8 to 5er. But I still find it remarkable the difference between, you know, let's just say when I was in my 40s and working, and I didn't worry about the issue of time, and now time seems like an enemy, doesn't it, in a way? The way it moves so quickly?
No, I'm not sure it's the enemy. It's just that I try and make every minute count, and I'm not being very successful at doing that. In fact, when I went in, the technician, you know, before I got scanned, she said, "Well, how are we doing today?" I said, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of feeling like shit. But at least I'm still vertical." She went, "What?" I said, "Well, you know, canes on both sides, I can at least stand up. I might not be able to sit down and get up again, but you know, that's the way." I guess that's what I never expected. You know, it used to be I can't even walk the thing in the airport anymore without a wheelchair, and it really bothers me. You know, as I'm being pushed down the ramp on the plane, it really bothers me that I can't do stuff like that anymore.
I understand. I have physical limitations that I never, ever anticipated having. But I'll say this, I absolutely sympathize. I don't even think sympathize is a good enough word for it. The people who are dealing with the decline in their mental ability in their old age. The fact that, at least in my mind, maybe somebody would contest this, that I still have my faculties and I still have my, I call them intellectual interests, and, you know, what I read, what I think about, what I write about. I can't imagine. I mean, if I have to give up something, I'll give up some physical ability long before I want to give up a mental ability.
I don't know. You know, I've told people that actually getting Alzheimer's or something is is probably a blessing because I'd be living in my own little world, happy and cheerful and whatever, even though the whole world would be totally out of touch. That's the one thing. But I think the other thing we need to talk about is people need to start thinking about this realistically because it is going to happen. They need to think about putting in grab bars. They need to think about taking care of that you don't trip and fall down the stairs, which I've done several times. You know, you need to start thinking about these things realistically because regardless of whether or not you think you're invincible, it's going to hit.
Well, so some watching this podcast may say I'm saying the obvious, but I'll just add to what you just said. You need to have a medical power of attorney. You should have a will. You should have a medical directive in case you're, in a serious accident or put on some type of machine to keep you alive. Those kind of things, and they typically ask you about that if you're in the hospital. But that's all part of being mature, thoughtful, and getting your life organized around the inevitable, which, if you're blessed, because it is a blessing, some days it's hard to believe, but it's a blessing to reach old age. Not everybody does. And I don't mean to sound cliched in saying that, but if we're 74 years old, and I'd like to live to be 90, 95, 100, I think, but that's not in the cards for me. So I'm probably being redundant, but the one thing that'll help you two things that'll help you most in not getting depressed about your situation, particularly if you have some significant health issues, is one, your faith, and two, it's having your life organized, as you say, around a preparation for old age. The things you have to do, to get your house ready, and the things you have to do to get organized around the things you want to pass on to your loved ones and your friends, and have your estate in order. All those things are important, and doing all that isn't something you can do at the snap of a finger.
Yeah, but
that's the one thing you don't want to procrastinate on.
Yeah, but hooking on to that and what I said earlier, most people are not economically prepared. Like they got $500 in the bank. $500 is not going to carry you through retirement. You're not going to get a gold watch anymore. You're not going to get a pension. Those things don't exist anymore. So you got to plan on the alternatives. And if you don't plan, your older age is going to be hell. You were talking about a will. I would go one step further. I would say go with a trust. Go with a spill down trust to avoid taxes. These are all things that A, they don't teach in school, but B, if you don't do it, you're going to be shit out of luck by the time you get to be our age. If you do plan and you got like 50 years worth of saving and putting away a couple of $100 a month or something, that's going to be several $1 million by the time you reach retirement. So you can live well. If you don't do those things, you're in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Dick. Excellent point. People are deluding themselves. Sounds harsh, but it's a fact. If they think during their working lives that Social Security is going to get it done for them. I mean, Social Security barely covers your prescriptions.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because the other thing is Medicare. People don't realize Medicare doesn't pay everything. So
Right.
what you got to do before you get to be our age, you need to get a supplemental health insurance policy. It'll take care of the co-pays, the drugs, the 20% of hospitalization that's not covered. And yeah, you're going to have to kind of bleed for several years to pay it off. But if you don't do it, you're in a heap of trouble. Which also brings me to long-term care. You know, if you got to go in a nursing home, that's going to be $10,000 a month. Medicare's not going to pay for it. Social Security's not going to pay for it. You got to plan for that stuff.
Yeah.
And
I
with
hear
that,
you. No. I feel myself sinking. I think, you know, for the most part, my wife and I are, you know, we plan pretty well in that regard. But all those things, I mean, it's a long punch list. One of the things, just in the context of Medicare, is you have to make a decision about whether or not you want to, you know, listen to some of these aging athletes who peddle Medicare plans on afternoon TV. You know, do you want to wind up in an HMO where you can't select your medical team, you know, get rid of a doctor, add a doctor, or do you want some control over that? Because it's very easy to get lazy about those kind of decisions, and then all of a sudden you wind up with a health crisis and you're being treated by somebody you don't have confidence in. I have, I'd like to think people watching this would say he's that bad off. He doesn't look that bad off. But I have a number of specialists, and they've been handpicked by me. I mean, I've had doctors and I've culled them out and added doctors and settled on the ones I have. And I have a lot of confidence in the people. I don't like to have to go see them, and I don't like to have to be treated. But in terms of confidence and ability to talk to them and trust in the advice they're giving, you know, I think I've made good decisions with the help of my wife, who's really boned up on Medicare. I don't know what I'd do without her. So that's the other thing is, you know, don't fall prey to easy decisions that you don't think through and weigh the options and the pros and cons. Because I think people get lazy. It's a distasteful thing to worry about. So they just want to, okay, this is what I'll do, and then get it off my mind, you know, and get back to going to the movies or going out and having a drink and dinner. You got to think these things through, and it's better to do it as you're suggesting with forethought than waiting until suddenly you say, God damn, I'm 68 years old and I'm, you know, had to give up my job because I just had a serious health crisis a month ago. And now I got to get my act together.
and you know, and you know, I really hate to say it. At 68, it's too late to get your act together.
Well, I was making that point, or trying to. Yeah.
So you're telling me I shouldn't listen to Joe Namath and go with.
Well, I did. You know who I was alluding to.
Yeah,
I didn't want to pick on Joe. I flew with Joe one time. I sat in an airport. It was LaGuardia, and the flight was delayed. I'm not saying I sat next to him and talked to him, but I certainly was looking at him more than a few times. The thing I remember most about Joe is one, he had a great tan, and two, he was being very polite to people instead of being arrogant. He seemed like a pretty nice guy.
My only complaint is I don't think his dentures fit. But hey, time's up. We've gone over by 5 minutes, so we're going to have to carry this on. But hopefully, some of our listeners, watchers, whatever they're called, stalkers, will start thinking about this, because I got to tell you, if you don't, it's going to be too late.
Well, I hope we imparted a little bit of wisdom based on our own experience.
Okay, talk to you next week.
Okay, Dick.